Okay, so this week we're going to tap into the energy of Bereshit. Bereshit is the first, I would say, portion that we read from the Torah. It's not the first time that we read it. We read it also during Simchat Torah, the last holiday that we spoke about. And so there are a lot of secrets that are in the portion, not when we read it literally. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to read a little bit from the Likutei Torah, which is the consciousness that the Ari is giving about the portion of the week. And then I'll speak about the Shara Gilgulim, which is the gate of reincarnation, which is basically, from the Kabbalistic aspect, what we're doing here. We're reincarnating over and over to perfect the human soul's experience in this realm so that we reach perfection and go back to perfection. So let me just grab the other volume, just 1 second. Okay, so it's probably not going to sound like anything familiar or something that you've heard before, and that's okay. The Ari, the Rav Isaac Luria, lived about 450 years ago, and he was on a total different level. He was basically like the Einstein of spirituality, the Einstein of Kabbalah, where he would just simply download all the secrets of this universe. And I could have said like in a layman language, but it's not in a layman language, because even in the time of the Rav Ashlag, when the Rav Ashlag emigrated from Poland to Israel, and he went specifically to schools where they were teaching the Ari, he was shocked how people were teaching the Ari from the brain and not from the heart, not from the soul. And so you could read like the same paragraph. I could read and explain an aspect of the Ari, and if it was the Ari teaching the Ari, obviously it would be a complete different level. But just the fact that we are talking about him and reading and studying from him with the intention to connect to his soul and to his revelations, that would do something for sure. If we're connected to the depth, to the real depth of his secret that he worked so hard to reveal, I'm not sure, but the intention is there. And so about Bereshit, he says, Lo dibra Torah be'atzilut, ela bebriya. So there are different levels of creation. We spoke a little bit about it in the Rav Ashlag classes, that there are different realms of creation. And the lowest level of creation is basically what we call Bria. And that is the realm that the world was created by. Ve'al ken etchila Torah bebet. And this is why the Torah was written starting with the letter Bet. I mean, from the layman perspective, you know, what does it matter if a book starts with such letter or such letter? But from a Kabbalistic perspective, it has a whole significance. And so we know that you don't need to know the Aleph Bet, the Hebrew Aleph Bet. You just need to know that the first letter is Aleph and the second letter is Bet. Very similar in sound, at least, like in Latin, alpha, beta. Kia Aleph, because the Aleph, that is the first, היא הראשונה, רומז לאצילות. And so the world of formation, Atzilut, is a higher realm than the realm of Bria. Ve'abet, היא השנייה, it's the second. רומז לבריאה, it is a hint for the realm of בריאה, of creation. שהוא עולם השני, that is the second realm. So it's interesting that we are conversing about, the idea that there are different layers of creation. There isn't just the one that we know as the physical reality, the earth, the 1% physical reality, but there is actually different realms that were created prior to that physical reality. And the physical reality, the realm of Bria, is only secondary. If you will, just as a gross metaphor, it's like when you have a thought and then you act upon the thought, or you have an intention, or there is something in potential, and that potential becomes manifested. In the same token, you have the highest realm that could be like the intention or the thought, and then the manifestation, the action, is secondary to the thought. What started first? What started first is the thought, or it can be like a spark of a desire in the universe that you captured. A lot of people said, oh, I had the desire. You don't own majority of those desires. They are sort of part of a collective consciousness. In the same way, they say that when a secret is revealed, from the moment that the gate of that specific secret has been revealed and that gate has been opened, everybody has sort of like access to it. And so this is why when you have like a revelation in the realm, in the physical realm, and that realm or that gate has been opened, suddenly everybody does it. So it's not a coincidence. Once a gate is open, everybody has an access to it. וגם א', תחילת תיבת אצילות, וב' תחילת בבריאה. Just another aspect of the importance of the Hebrew letters. So we just finished the Torah on Simchat Torah. And there is a very interesting physical act that we do during the holiday of Simchat Torah. And we know that every physical action awakens a spiritual one. So it's not that we're awakening something that is new, we're awakening an energy that has always been there. We're just, triggering something so that we can vibrate it and then download it into our own lives. And so we're bringing out 3 Sefer Torah, 3 scrolls, but the most important is like the first 2. The first 2 is basically the last portion, Zot HaBracha, and this is the blessing. And that ends the Torah with the letter Lamed. And then we raise the second book that is basically the same scroll, but it is at a different location. So the first scroll is at the end, it's at the last page. And the second book that we read is at the very first page. And so, some people would ask, why don't we just end Simchat Torah, which is marking like the last of this marathon of the holidays? Why don't we just finish with the last portion of the Torah, right? That would mark basically the energy of this cycle. And the reason being is that we're finishing the Torah, and then right away, we are raising the Torah, the second Torah, and we are holding it like this with the crossed hands, and we raise the Torah, and then we turn it around. And the way that we turn it around, it almost creates like the number 8, which is basically the energy of infinite. What is the energy of infinite? No beginning, no end. And so this is why we finish the Torah, and right away, we read the next portion that is Bereshit. We start over again. And that is also why I want to touch upon reincarnation, because there is no end. We perceive death, for example, as an end. And yes, it is marking the end of a cycle, but then it is introduced right away. Time is introduced in our lifetime, in this physical reality, but from the aspect of our spiritual evolution, there is no beginning and end. There is continuum. There is no end. And so we read the first portion after we finished the last portion. We raise the Torah of the first portion to point at the first letter, which is a large bet. And the last letter of the last portion is the letter Lamed. And together it forms the word Lev, which means heart. And so it says that, the same as we have nutrients to help us live in a healthy way, we could also eat some nutrients that are bad for us. So if we eat a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar, that can hurt us and basically, take down a notch our health and our lifespan and whatnot. But if we eat healthy, that is what can extend the life of an individual, but also heal an individual if you eat healthy. So the same goes for our spiritual undertaking, meaning that there are certain things that are hurting us spiritually, energetically, emotionally, getting upset, being judgmental, hurting others, etc., hurt us at the end of the day. But there are also certain things that are beneficial for us, such as connecting to spiritual things, spiritual matters. And one of them is study, spirituality, because it puts our mind in the right place, and thinking positive over and over would overtake somebody that thinks negative and depressing and whatnot thoughts. And when you are partaking in studies such as Kabbalah, the Zohar, and the Torah, etc., the entire capacity of those tools is mainly geared towards elevating one's consciousness. And so I know that there are some people that would say, but I don't like to connect to those when I'm not in a good place. And this is the trick of the body, right? The trick of the body is to keep us at the bay from connecting. So that was just another, just a side note for the importance of the letters. And the importance of the portion of Bereshit, which basically we think that Bereshit is about like a series of events, or it's a story, but it's much more than that, because, and I just like read one paragraph that we could just keep on talking about, because just the letter has, the first letter has like this whole lesson about it, that it is denoting, or it is basically the illustration of which world the creation is based on. And the creation is based on Bria, and this is why the first letter of the Torah had to be the letter Bet and not the letter Aleph and not the letter Gimel. It had to be the letter Bet. Why? Because the physical realm has been built on Bria. Makes sense, right? Good. So then the Ari goes on, and so I grabbed the Shara Gilgulim, the gate of reincarnation, that says that there are 5 names to the soul. And this is the order. This is the order from the bottom to top. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. ואין ספק כי לא נפל קריאת השמות הנזכרות במקרה ובהזדמן. אמנם דע כי האדם עצמו. So he says there is no coincidence for those names, for each name has a deep or deeper significance. אמנם דע, you should know כי האדם עצמו, that an individual, man, woman, הוא הרוחניות אשר בתוך הגוף. So that individual, that person, is not the body, it is the spirit that is within that body. והגוף הוא לבוש האדם. And the body is the clothing of the individual. So when the Ari speaks of an individual, he is not referring to the individual as the physical illustration, the way that we look, the way that we sound. Doesn't matter how much we have been to school, educated, our knowledge. Imagine compare to all the knowledge of the universe. How much do we know? Compare to all the wisdom of the world, how much do we understand? But given everything that we have acquired in this lifetime, at least knowingly, the way that we express ourselves, that we sound, that we react, that we are sharing, that we are being negative at times, all this is the physical body. And the introduction to the wheels of the soul, to reincarnation, according to the Ari, is that the body is only the clothing. And when the Ari speaks of the body, it's everything that is 1% about us. And so if I would ask, so what is the expression of the 99%? ואיננו האדם עצמו, so the body is not the person himself. So we've learned in classes and in many discussions that we had that majority of our thoughts are negative. They do not represent who we truly are. So when we are afraid, when we are feeling lonely, when we feel rejected, when we feel judgmental, that's not the us. I mean, it's me. It's a part of an aspect of me, but it's not the me. It is an aspect of the body. Because the body is negative, not the soul. וכמו שאמר, על בשר אדם לא יסח, וכנזכר בזוהר פרשת בראשית, כי אדם מקשר כל דלת עולמות, ולכן בהכרח הוא שיהיו בו חלקים מכל ארבעת עולמות. ואלו החלקים, כל חלק מהם נקרא בשם אחד, מן החמישה שמות הנזכר, נפש, רוח, נשמה, חיה יחידה, כמו שהתבאר. And so, each spark of the soul of an individual is connected to each aspect of a realm. So the lowest level of the soul is connected to the world of Asiya, which is the realm of action. And the realm of action is basically the realm of the 1%. And so this is why it connects us to the level of nefesh, the lowest level. ולא ברגע אחד זוכה לקחת כולם, רק כפי זכיותיו. So it says clearly, ולא ברגע, so it's not instantly that an individual earns, merits to receive all of the levels at the same time, but rather according to his merit. So if a person is on the level of nefesh, and I think if you want to determine which level am I, it's very easy. If we are still somewhat reactive, we are on the level of nefesh. Conclusion. Conclusion, we are all on the level of nefesh. The thing is, even if a person has ascended to the level of ruach, to the level of neshama, even though we have 5 levels, human beings do not go beyond the level of neshama. If you have reached the level of neshama, you have finished your tikkun. Chaya and yechida, which is way above it, is always there as a perfected self where we can tap into information, wisdom, calmness, mercy that is part of us. So, a lot of people say, pray to God, pray to this, pray to that, you'll get the support. In truth, you can just pray to the perfected version of you and you'll get everything that you need on the level of Chaya and Yehuda. But actually, for those that elevate to the level of Neshama, which is the level of Moses, and Moses didn't have to reincarnate. It says that actually he left this world in his physical form, that he was half man and half angel. And so when a person lives in that state, the person has finished his tikkun and is immortal. So this is for a person that reaches the level of Neshama. So yes, the goal for all humanity is to reach the level of perfection. But just for us to know that we are all born, even if we have ascended to the level of Ruach, which is the second level, and then we reincarnate, because each time we have to reincarnate in order to purge all the negativity, we have to start over again. So even if I have ascended to the level of Ruach, and I'm reborn, I would start again from the level of Nefesh. But then I could understand this, by somebody that is gifted, right? Like from birth, can have a gift that nobody else does, with music, with math, with drawing, painting, memory, right? Like different gifts that a person could have acquired in a previous lifetime, and he doesn't have to do this work anymore. So you start going from here, can only get better. I mean, some people are born with a gift and then they don't do anything with it, right? They can be stagnant for the next 3 or 5 lifetimes. But just for us to know that there are some people that are, without jumping, it's very tempting, without jumping into judgment, because you could look around and see who is a new soul. What is a new soul? A new soul is a soul that has ventured in this physical reality, that has incarnated. Maybe it's their first incarnation, maybe it's their second incarnation. Majority of people that are around today, and this is why we can see it more and more, a spiritual awakening. So you have people that are more naturally drawn to spirituality. Maybe life has, led them to seek spirituality, but it's no coincidence. We think that things happen by coincidence, but it's no coincidence. So if life made them, the universe made them take a fast track so that they can, at the age of 15, 25, whatnot, be and seek spirituality, it's not a coincidence. It's because they've done already so much work, and they come back and they go through the fast track to, at the age of 20, 25, start exactly where they left to the work in the previous lifetime. And then there are the people that you see them, they're so selfish, they don't care about others, they have no interest for self-growth, they have no interest in a peace or world peace, and they just care about money, sex, drugs, 1%, and desire to receive for themselves alone and whatnot. It's not a matter of us being judgmental, right? Because I've been at that place at some point. That lesson is for us to understand that there are levels. This is why if I see somebody that is maybe at the early stage, how can I help this person or this group of people elevate, awaken, and not have to drag their feet and wait like 3, 5, 100 lifetimes before they realize, okay, maybe I should do something about my spiritual elevation. ובתחילה נוטל חלק אחד הגרוע שבכולם, והוא הנקרא נפש. And so it says the lowest level is the level of nefesh, that is the most corrupted. But it's still the level of nefesh. But imagine that you're taking, I love meatballs. So imagine that you take meat and onion and you mix the two. You mix the two for 20 minutes, and then you take it out of the mixer, and then you change your mind. Oh no, I don't want onion. And so you start taking the pieces of onion one by one from the minced meat. How long would that take? It's impossible. So what's happening with our soul? I apologize for that's what came to my mind. But imagine that this is what's happening with that level of the soul, the level of nefesh, that it's completely mixed up with the consciousness of the body, with the desire to receive for the self alone, with all its insecurities, with all the doubts, with all the self-hatred, with all the worries and the concern and the stress, etc. So this is why a lot of times it's very confusing how to differentiate the voices of the soul, how to differentiate the voices of the body consciousness, the ego, the desire to receive for the self alone. In the 1%, on the level of nefesh, it's impossible. The only way that we can truly find an inner salvation, an epiphany, a revelation, is if we elevate our consciousness to the level of ruach. And that is by doing restriction and the spiritual work and the connection and the prayer for ourselves, for others. ואחר כך אם יזכה יותר, and so after nefesh, if a person has the merit, ייקח גם את הרוח, that person would receive the level of ruach. ואחר שנתבהר זה, צריך שנודיעך אתה קצת הקדמות בעניין דרוש הנזכר. עניין נרן, נתבהרו עניינים באורך בש"ד, שאר הפסוקים. So he just gives all sorts of references. דע כי כל הנפשות הם מעולם העשייה. All the souls are originating from one realm that is called העשייה. וכל הרוחות הם מעולם היצירה. And all the spirits are from the realm of יצירה. וכל הנשמות and all the souls called neshamot הם מעולם הבריאה. So there are different levels of souls and spirits and angels as well. אינם רוב בני אדם, most of human beings, אין להם כל 5 חלקים. They don't have the 5, they don't all have the 5 parts, הנקראים נפש, רוח, נשמה וכו'. רק חלק הנפש בלבד. So it depends on certain individuals. Some individuals, they don't even have the capacity to elevate to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. אשר היה מן העשייה, אבל גם בזה יש מדרגות רבות. So even the person that has only 1, there are subcategories to the 1. But all this to figure out, like we say, like everybody is the same, everybody is equal. אמא, את יכולה לעשות משהו עם הצעקות? So, from the spiritual perspective, I mean, that can be easily taken out of context and open for controversy. But from the spiritual perspective, what the Ari says is that not all human beings are equal. Some have greater capacity to reveal light than others. Some have the capacity to elevate, and some just don't have the capacity. And so this is why, I mean, it can lead us to judge, or it can lead us to also maybe be a little bit more compassionate. Why? Because our level of expectation when you're working on yourself, trying to do more restriction, be more spiritual, be more compassionate, and you're basically expecting that all the people, you're expecting that other people will do the same thing. And we need to start thinking about it as such. Not everybody has that capacity. So I should not have that expectation about others. All I should worry about is about my own elevation. And if I am judgmental, impatient, intolerant, that can only actually be a simple indication about maybe just simply the level of my soul, my current level of my soul, that is nefesh. And on the level of nefesh, we cannot accept others. We can only be judgmental of others. We can be judgmental of somebody who is higher. We can be judgmental of somebody who is lower. Simply be judgmental. But if I take any lesson out of this is that this should lead us to be more compassionate and understanding of others. And there are people that have the capacity to elevate. You can say this person is a spiritual person. And you can say this person, I don't see where this is going. And you can go to, without going into the details or creating prejudice, but there are certain places in the world where, maybe because of circumstances or maybe just because of the nature of the soul, that person just doesn't have the capacity to elevate. Some people just don't have the capacity to reveal light. And so you can call it a sort of handicap. So would you get upset at somebody who is like physically handicapped? Would you get upset at somebody who is like has a Down syndrome? You wouldn't. But we can be judgmental why this person cannot be more patient, more tolerant, more compassionate. Why is this person so egocentric? And maybe this person needs to incarnate at least once or twice or three times to awaken a desire for more. Because although I might have a great desire for personal change or world change, there are some people that are not interested. And you know what? We should be okay with that. We should be okay that not everybody is like us, like me, and not everybody is seeking to become a better individual. Is not second guessing, wait a second, is this the right thought? Is this the right action? Am I being reactive? Is this coming from the opponent? Is this considered sharing? I'm spending most of my day beating myself up. Think about it. So although it makes our life a little bit more challenging because we are questioning so much. Somebody who is not spiritual doesn't have to second guess, just lives his life by the minute. So some people might think, oh, it's not so bad actually, because when I wasn't spiritual, I didn't have to think so much. Sure, you were reactive most of the time and not revealing so much light. For some people, it's not important. For some people, it doesn't matter how much light they create. Even the word light is a turnoff for them. ואף על פי שנודע שיש מי שנפשו מן מלכות דעשייה ויש מין יסוד דעשייה. There are some people that are from this aspect of a realm or the soul. There are some people that are that the soul is from the level of Malchut De'asiya, and there are some people that are from the level of Yesod De'asiya. So again, this is a question of merit. How much you're working in this lifetime determines all which you would be gifted and receiving in the world to come. And so this takes us, to discuss a little bit about blind faith. Well, why can't I see the fruit of my labor right now? We see the fruit of our labor in some level, but maybe to its fullest capacity, we wouldn't see it. So a lot of places in the Zohar and in the Ari, it says how much how much you care about respect and running after respect, and how much respect runs away from you. The same for wealth, the same for happiness, the same for soulmate, the same for all the gifts that an individual can dream or pray for. The determination of the level of your soul is absolutely equal or corresponding to the amount of work that we have and effort that we have put in this lifetime. And if I'm elevated, and if I'm lucky, and if I'm blessed, it's a merit. It is a merit from one aspect, one moment of my life, cause and effect. This is why it's also very hard, to accept when we see, for instance, somebody that we feel, that we judge. I know this person, I should be more successful, I should be more lucky, I should be more blessed. This guy is like so selfish, and he's like this, and he's like that. He doesn't deserve it. Maybe it might be true from this lifetime, but we don't see what this person has done in all his previous lifetimes to deserve what he's receiving right now. And so this is why maybe in this lifetime he doesn't have to work so hard to receive what he has received. So you will have people that are overachieving, over-accomplishing, and making basically no effort. There are some people that work 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week, and they're millionaires. And there are some people that work 20 hours a day, and they'll never be millionaires. So we would see it as injustice. From a spiritual perspective, we would see it as cause and effect. We believe in cause and effect, right? I mean, the intellectual side of it. Whatever you put out there is what you will get back, right? If you do good, you'll receive good. If you do bad, you'll receive bad. We believe that, yes? But we still judge when what we see is not in marriage with what we feel or believe. So when we're reading this, it's only to help us accept something that is inevitable. It's like a spiritual rule. I can't defeat a spiritual rule. I can't defeat the rules of how you call this? Gravity. I mean, you can not like it, but I can't argue it. Can I argue cause and effect? I can't argue cause and effect. And if we cannot argue cause and effect, we cannot argue what seems to be injustice or unfairness. We can't. Anyway, maybe I would continue next week where we stopped. If you like it, otherwise I can choose just another book. Any question?
I'm still processing everything.
So, Yehuda?
Yes.
So, the blessings that we have in this life might be a combination of merits from, since we don't know the timeline of cause and effect, the blessings that are in our lives, we can assume are from prior incarnations and this incarnation, and vice versa. Things that we struggle with could be because of errors or selfishness in
the thing is that it says that osher v'isurim, like the blessings and punishments, a part of a reward. But we see punishment as punishment. We don't see it as a reward. So you would consider that if your child needs to learn a tough lesson, that can only serve your child to become more mature and more evolved, for the society to become, like a decent person. Now, it's very possible that this tough lesson is not going to be comfortable to hear or to go through, but it is somewhat necessary to get us to a place that is more mature and that is going to make us a better individual and more accepting and more tolerant and more merciful. From a spiritual perspective, we see blessings as the only thing that would be, connotation of light and growth or sign of accomplishment. It's not. According to the Rav Ashlag, actually, we should seek, I'm not, we should seek the challenges and punishments, suffering, rather than the moments where we get like a break. Give me a break. When everything is doing well and we only get good news and everything is smooth. Well, no drama? No drama. Shh. It's been like a week. No drama. Life is amazing. So is that good news? It's partially good news. The other part is that right now I'm not growing. I'm just like on neutral, on a spiritual neutral. Because energy is created when there is friction. So I am producing light that helps me elevate in my consciousness and in my long-term achievements when I'm being challenged. And the challenge is not, like a tough conversation. It can be all sorts of things, physical, emotional, economical, financial, it can be all sorts of things. Whatever the universe brings to the table, we need to get to that place, and probably it's not on the level of nefesh, by the way, that I would see whatever comes my way as a blessing, that it's tough, that it looks like a punishment, and justice and fairness. That's probably not an acceptance on the level of nefesh. Because on the level of nefesh, I would see punishment as punishment. I would see a blessing as a blessing. On the level of ruach, I would start seeing the challenges and the difficulties and, like resentment and betrayal. On the level of ruach, God, that's it. Bring me more. So good for my soul. I'm not there. When something looks like a punishment, I'm feeling like it's a punishment. And we still get reactive. It's tough, it's challenging. Spiritual work is work, it's challenging. It doesn't come naturally to the body consciousness. So does the body consciousness dominate majority of my time and consciousness and where I'm putting my thoughts, investing my thoughts and everything else? Yes, the body consciousness wins all day. So the more I'm becoming more cognizant, of this fact, and the more, ultimately I'll get more motivated to do it better. No, I'm tired of living like that. I'm tired of being reactive. I'm tired of seeing punishment as punishment. So when we get those blessings, is that a sign of, sure, it is a sign of you've been rewarded, but you got rewarded because you went through tough time. So today you're harvesting, like you're reaping like all the good from what seemed to be bad. The thing is that the quicker we get it and the less time we spend into bad. That's why when we see somebody evolving spiritually, the person is still reactive, but that person gets quicker back on his feet to be, not to dwell in there. So it can be somebody who used to be like super depressive, Now he still gets, sad and depressed here and there, but it doesn't last weeks. You follow what I'm saying? So as long as you look back, and you can say about yourself or about this individual, wow, this person really changed. Sure, we're not perfect yet, but as long as we can tell ourselves, well, yeah, I'm still struggling with it, but it's getting better. That's a good sign.
Thank you.
If you get indications that everything is great, I'll be worried. Everything is worried, like the other side is just like, what is he orchestrating? And the more time he takes, the bigger it's gonna be. So it's better to get it in a payment plan. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's better like by small doses.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, guys. Well, it's nice to see you all, and we'll meet again next week.
Thank you, Yehuda.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.